In this video, we'll talk about different types of reports. Reports can come from a variety of sources as related to IT management and security management. And of course, having different reports can support decision making for decision makers. Now, in some cases, there might be requirements for report retention. Now, for instance, we might have to keep report information related to security breaches for a certain period of time by law. It's always important to be able to authenticate the data that is used to generate reports. Is it trustworthy? So often that means that it must be stored and transmitted in an encrypted format and have limited access to it. Reports can be generated manually. So, for example, we can run an on demand report perhaps to check to see how many machines meet a certain security condition or not, and that can be done as needed. But it can also be automated. So we could have a scheduled basis whereby perhaps at the end of every week, a report of the latest malware infections is sent to the administrative team. There could also be triggered reports that are triggered by a certain event that occurs, and that might be related to an intrusion detection or prevention system. And then there is the SIEM option. SIEM stands for Security Information and Event Management. Essentially, it's a centralized monitoring management solution for larger networks. Standard report types include things such as general user activity, either on a single host or over the network, system downtime, configuration changes, log event correlation to tie events together, help desk tickets, network traffic in and out, and this is just a tiny sampling of standard report types. Security report types would include things such as privileged use. So when users are executing their right, for example, to reboot a server, we might want to track that and run reports against that. Unauthorized attempts to access data. Malware detections, always very important. Brute force password attacks. Even excessive network traffic from a host is suspicious. And again, that might be picked up by your intrusion detection sensors, and you might get a notification as a result. Remember that intrusion prevention differs from detection in that it can stop suspicious activity from continuing. We might also want a report that summarizes incidents that have occurred over a certain time frame. Or if we've had a security audit conducted, part of that might include a penetration or vulnerability test or scan. So we might have reports related to that. Again, reports are important because they support decisions. And often decision makers are not the IT technicians working in the trenches, so to speak. So they need a higher level overview. They need to trust that the data is accurate on which they are basing their decisions. And that data would be used for reports. Reports can also be subscribed to in various types of solutions, either on a scheduled basis for individual reports that are of interest, or perhaps reports could be stored in a file or even sent via email. What you're seeing on the screen now is Microsoft System Center Configuration Manager 2012 R2. Now, this tool allows us to manage a large amount of devices within the enterprise for change management purposes, but it also includes hundreds of reports. Let's get to that. So in the bottom left in the navigation area, I'm going to switch over to the monitoring area. And then in the left-hand navigator, I'm going to expand reporting, where I can also expand reports to see numerous categories of reports. For instance, I see an alerts category where if I select that report folder on the left, I'll see the reports on the right. And as we keep going further and further down, we're going to see all the different types of reports. But of course, we could search for them. So if I just click on reports on the left and then click the search bar on the right, if I wanted to, I might search for malware. And here we have some various malware reports that might be of interest, such as anti-malware activity report. So I could right-click on it, choose to run the report. Now, some reporting solutions will have parameters. In other words, you have to supply further information on which the report will run. For example, it might include a date and time range. Now, when we run a report, it might be good on screen. We might be able to print it. We might be able to save it in a variety of different file formats. So here, this anti-malware activity report has a start and an end date, so there's a time frame, but it also has a collection of devices that it must be based on. So here I'm going to choose the All Systems collection. I'll click OK. Then I'll click the View Report button. And then the report results will show up down below. Now, this is one of those types of reports where no news is good news. We have zero anti malware activity. That's a good thing. But notice here that we've got options to print. We also have various options to control the print layout, and we also can save the report in various file formats, perhaps as a PDF that we would manually attach to an email and send off to our IT manager, and so on. But on the automation side, we can also right click on a report and we can create a subscription to it. Now, subscribing to a report means you find that report interesting and you might even want to schedule how often the report runs and you get a copy. So the report could be delivered in this specific example to a Windows file share, or it could be sent through email to interested parties where we can include a link to the report or actually include a copy of the report, for example, here in PDF format. So as we go through with this, we can continue to configure things like the schedule. So I'm just going to put here admins at quick24x7.com. This is the email recipient group, and the subject is going to be malware report. Now, when I click the next button down at the bottom, then I can determine what the schedule is going to be. Should it run weekly, monthly, and so on? In this video, we learned about different types of reports.